Okay. Yay! Well, first of all, I've got words to have with you about why we didn't stream last week. What do you think the words "let's push it back" mean? Push it back means make it later. Bring it forward means come earlier. Like, I have to deal with a lot of your Americanisms, but this one I'm not accepting. If this is an Americanism, if it's a Davism, then I'm sorry. Push back is any back is later. Forward is sooner. Oh, are you one of those weird people like that how do you envisage the calendar and the days of the week, for example? Are you one of those people? Oh, okay. Hmm. Hmm. I'm trying to understand those words as well. Like, that's a bizarre way to frame things. Really? Like, I just don't understand why, as you've already got a human there, why you'd need to give them another perspective to consider. Oh, but Dr. Ballon says we can't hear you, Dave.
Oh my God, it's been silent. I've just my great story. I'm sorry, so I'll repeat. We're talking about
Oh,
why.
I didn't even have him trying to mitigate his awfulness.
I
Okay.
know. I'm sorry, guys. No, we're
Hi,
talking about
Miko Pigeon.
why we missed stream yesterday or last week, and it's
Hmm.
because I said we're gonna push it back, and push it back I meant pull it forward because I'm stupid. And then I was talking about how when I talk about where to break the wall, the way I remember it is from the document I first read it, where they said you count in the, you roll the dice, you count around to find the wall, and then you count in a number of tiles equal to that number from the left with regards to the center of the table is how I first read it. The first time, like I learned to do this, the first time it happened,
That's the most.
and
That's the
it's an
most
incredibly
fucked up way
weird and
to
backwards and
understand.
incongruous way, but it's like stuck in my brain, and so now this is just how I think of it because it is still technically correct. It's just like the worst way to explain it.
I guess it's
Um,
technically correct, but you've got to imagine a perspective that's rotating in the center of the table.
yeah, it is. It is. I do not recommend. I would never teach someone this. I do not recommend that anyone does it. But because it's how I learned it, it's just stuck in my brain
Is
as
that
like the
still in
way
the
I think
EMA
about it.
rules? I might highlight that.
I don't know. You'll have to take a look
I'll have to double check. Yeah. You
because
don't know what?
like
It's one of those things that I'm sure it makes sense somehow, but no,
well,
no.
it is correct if it's from the right with regards to the player sitting there. It's from the left with regards to the center of the table, which is always across from the player sitting there. Like it's mechanically correct. It's just
I
a
know,
really
yeah.
awkward thing to ask anyone to do.
Yeah,
You
because
know,
you
like
immediately like, wait a second, I'm now in the center of the table. What
yeah,
do you
yeah.
want? I thought I was sitting in my seat, and now you're asking me to think about another perspective.
No,
No,
it makes so much more sense to say like you designate a player and then from that player's right, like that's how they do it and it's easy.
I
But
mean,
like
and this is why graphics are far superior in all way, shape, and form.
print me some graphics.
We got graphics in the WRC rules.
That's ideal. That's why everyone should be playing WRC
They're
rules.
beautiful
They've got
graphics.
beautiful
Sylvan
graphics.
made them. They're very like okay, like they're very simple and they're functional. They're
Mm.
not going to be winning an art award anytime soon,
Oh,
is what I'm trying to say.
I had an interesting question that I got. Do we remember? Because I always forget this person's name. Who is the gentleman who is only about 7 pairs?
Oh, dude, who's that man? Yeah, I know, I
Do you
know.
remember him?
No, I remember him. I don't remember his name. This is a long time ago. Like this is pre-COVID. Was the seven pairs
Yeah,
crazy?
yeah. I want to
No,
know. Can we get him to give a guest lecture?
I don't know. Do you
about
know what?
like
It's gonna
why
come
Seven
to me at
Parents
like
is
3
great.
in the morning. Like yeah, that'll haunt my waking dreams now. Okay,
Yeah, then I
right.
want to get.
I'll get that for you.
I want to
Anyway,
get.
Dave, you've been
Yes,
busy. Talk to me about
I've
your
been busy.
busies.
I've been busy. So let's see. We've been at Comic Con.
Have
We
you
spent
got
a lot of time.
photos? Have you got
I
photos whilst you're
do
talking about
somewhere.
your
I'm
busies?
so disheveled because I literally just got back from a trip last night. But we were at Comic Con. It was amazing. In so many ways. Number one, like Comic Con is just a huge, crazy, giant convention. Like it's my phone is over there. It's so big. 250,000
Like how many?
people.
Okay, 250,000 people. So a
250,000.
quarter
Well,
million people, right?
250,000 unique people over the course of a 4-day convention. So it's not quite like you sit down in the room and there's 250,000 people there in the room with you.
Oh, do they
Um,
do day passes and full
Yeah,
weekend
yeah, they
or
do day
whatever? Yeah,
passes and
okay.
full passes. So there's a bunch of different
Hmm.
stuff, and obviously most of the people are, the majority of those people are there for Mahjong, but a few of them are there to see famous movie stars and other comic book figures. Like they had a lot of Guardians of the Galaxy people there. They have a lot of artists there. They have a lot of writers, and interestingly, because I believe this year because of the strikes, like people couldn't directly talk about some of these projects because you're not allowed. It's breaking the strike
Yeah,
violations to go out and directly promote. But
yeah, yeah.
but I'd say like 90% of the people were there for Mahjong, not for any of this comic book stuff, which is really kind of a bit of a flash in the pan. Um, the
Yeah, we need
convention
Marvel
floor.
to do us a Mahjong comic. That's what we need.
Well, we got to talk to my. I'm happy to talk to Marvel. The convention floor is it's the entire. I don't know if you're familiar with the Javits Center. You've probably never been to the Javits Center, but the Javits Center is like multiple city blocks, and the convention floor is just like all of it.
Mm.
And there are these like insane um displays there. Again, let me hold on. Let me grab my phone and let me see if I can offload some pictures while we talk about this because I can at least like tell you some things about it. So give me one
Mm.
second. It should be right. It is. All right, here it is. So now I can look into getting some pictures offloaded while we talk about it. But like everyone was there, and there was a huge amount of. I mean, some of this stuff was obvious. Oh no, did I get a? I got a phone call. Oh, that's fine. It's another thing. Sorry. I ordered some food earlier, and I don't want my phone call to be like the restaurant being like, "Hey, you ordered food. You're never getting food. Bye." Um. So like, for example, there's a lot of stuff about the Dragon Ball. Is it 20th anniversary, 25th anniversary of Dragon Ball?
Oh
Um.
gosh, is it?
Yeah,
Huh.
there's a lot of
Do you know
stuff
what? It
like that.
feels older than that.
It's a very like old school show, like it's one of those like foundational shows. And I don't know, to be
Yeah.
fair, I'm not a historian about this stuff,
Do you know, I'm gonna look it up, Dragon Ball.
but I
Like for
feel like it
some reason,
established a lot of the tropes.
yeah.
Okay, I'm making a folder and I'm gonna be able to offload some photos to share with everyone. um
So yeah, Dragon Ball is 1986.
19 Jesus, I was 3 years
That
old.
feels more like it. Yeah, I was 3 years old when it came out. That feels better. That yeah, okay. So maybe it's 35th of Dragon Ball Z, maybe?
Maybe Dragon Ball
That would
Z,
feel right.
yeah.
Yeah, okay. Dragon Ball Z for some of you. Or 40th anniversary. Oh, that's right. Could be, couldn't it? It could be for the manga could be 1983. I don't know. So was
I
that
feel
manga
like
or
I
was it just an
had it.
anime?
Well, I believe it
The
started out as it was manga to start, right?
Yeah, it was a manga, 1980. Okay. Yeah, maybe 40th anniversary of the manga then.
Okay, I'm grabbing some photos off my phone of like exciting stuff I saw at Comic Con. I actually did manage to get away from the booth and do some other things ever, which was pretty cool. Um,
Ah, and you also had some special guests,
we
didn't you?
did have some special guests. We had the wonderful Jen and the wonderful Garth, who both came to help us out. And
So Jen and Garth are professionals from Japan for people who don't might not know who they are, but
everyone knows who they are. They're very
they
famous.
well, yeah, they are famous. They were the first. Ah, yeah, I'm gonna get this wrong if I'm not careful. They were the first. Let's go for the first Americans because that's the safest way to say it. They were the first Americans and the first Westerners to become certified as professionals in Japan. Um, yeah, so they're a big deal. And if you go
They're
to
a big deal.
Japan, you can see them in Mahjong Fight Club, Konami's Mahjong Fight Club, and they're in like the pachinko patchy slot machines and stuff as featured people. Um, and they've been, they've had long careers as foreign talent in Japan as well. So
Hmm.
yeah,
Worked
they're
for many of
pretty
the.
They are big in Japan. I guess that's what I'm trying to say.
All right, I've got a bunch of stuff. Cool, I've got a bunch of stuff. That's very exciting.
But Mahjong is their love. Mahjong is their love. So no matter what else they do.
No matter what else.
Yeah, Mahjong's the love. Gosh, you got a very noisy siren out there.
Yeah, I'm sorry. The police are not happy with me. Okay, cool. So now I have this thing, and now I'm going to change the slideshow to be another thing. Yeah, so we were there. Okay, so we were there. Comic-Con's huge. It's super cool. And in a minute, I'm going to be able to show you stuff about it. In just a minute.
Dave needs to get better organized.
I know, I do. I'm sorry.
He needs to learn the difference between push back and pull forward. And photos.
That's true. I do. How do I do the thing? I gotta find what the stupid hotkeys are. Okay, .com. Okay, cool. So yeah, okay, cool. So I can. All right, I got lots of different slides and lots of different. Okay, cool. Exciting. So I can show this in a second. Yeah, so we were there at Comic-Con. It was super great. Jen and Garth helped out a ton. We met and taught so many people. It was really cool. It was incredibly busy and full. I don't know how to explain, like people who've done conventions with us learn to know. And one thing I want to say right now, just straight up, like doing conventions like we do to meet and teach people Mahjong is 40th anniversary, God. It is a very human intensive activity. Unlike a lot of other booths, a lot of other booths, and this isn't to belittle other booths, but like when you have a product or something that you're just selling, you have a person saying, hey, come buy the product, and that's pretty good. And you have a person maybe who explains it. But with Mahjong, we had 7 tables, and each one of those tables needs an instructor. And I want to not for a second understate or underappreciate the help and effort we got from so many different volunteers. We had a huge amount of people, some of whom might even be watching right now, come and volunteer to help set the booth up, to tear it down, to haul stuff in and out, to teach, to do all of this work. Jen and Garth also were part of our teaching team, and everyone did such an amazing job. And these kind of things, like, I just want to be super clear when I talk about it. These things do not happen without a great team of people who help make it happen. And we got even specific personal testimonials from people who wrote us back later being like, I had such a great time. The teacher was so wonderful. It was really engaging. It was, my family had fun, stuff like that. Like the humans who helped make this happen are so vital. And I super appreciate all of them. And I'm going to feed them all a delicious dinner in a few days to show some of my thanks. Someone even got a tip.
Really?
Yeah, after the lesson,
your tipping culture
slipped him
crazy.
$10, and I was like,
really?
You made the most profit out of this convention than anyone did. Like, congratulations, you made the most money out of all of us. You win.
Was it a foreigner by chance? Like, no. I find tipping culture very stressful in America, and I'm just like, here, do you need the money? Is this what I'm supposed to do? Maybe they're like that.
They got a tip. It's really funny. All right, so I can bring up some of these pictures. Let me bring up some of these pictures now that I've got this together. So this is not Comic-Con. This is our studio, but this is the result of our wall art that we got put up, and this is the basis. First of all, I'm really proud of this because I just really like how it came out. I think it's a great looking wall thing. But this was the basis for what we did for the decoration for our booth. We took the same art and we wanted to use it as a backdrop for our booth. So it's like if you're in our booth, you're kind of like in the studio. It's the same similar kind of thing.
Yeah, the artist is Kana Ruba. You can find her on social media and stuff. But she's her father handcrafts Mahjong tiles in Hong Kong.
No, I'm not. I'm not specifically depicted.
No, and so, but she does like this artwork, and she's got, if you go to her Etsy store, you can find similar artwork. Not this one. This one's unique to Dave's space.
Yeah, this
but you can find other artwork. You can find handcrafted Mahjong tiles. So I would definitely recommend going. I've got some stuff of hers in my house, and it's beautiful. So if you like this, definitely go check out her shop and say that Gemma sent you.
Oh yeah, she's
because I'm a big cheerleader of this lady.
And so here we have, this is pre-Comic-Con, this is the entrance. This is one little piece of the Javits Center, by the way. This is called the Crystal Palace. No one knew this is called the Crystal Palace. I spent all convention telling people like, oh, meet at the Crystal Palace. And everyone's like, what? It's this giant glass open building. And this was like the very front desk.
I was about to say, we had a Crystal Palace and we burned it down.
This is a bit of a better view of kind of what you saw, what you got from the Crystal Palace. And keep in mind, this is not the convention. This is just ticket sales and entryway. Like, this
Mm,
is just the beginning. You go in, and again, you have this mammoth floor. I didn't get many pictures of the floor because it was just a nightmare
mm.
of humans, but there was so much going on. Um, and this is our booth as we had it before we started. So this is us like
Wow, it's a
pre-hour
lot of
setup.
space here.
Yeah, so they gave us all this space. We had again 20 by 10, so we had a two booth. We had you can see the art's a little modified to include our logos over the windows instead of the cityscape, so it's a bit more visible who we are and what we're doing.
Mm,
It was a really great setup. Again, we had 6 tables out here, and we had one table back in there, and this was jam packed full. Like,
wow.
and just to be clear, again, given that people don't necessarily know the layout, like we were a little bit out of the way.
Mm,
So like the hall we were in is like the gaming hall, which is down. It's near the main stage, but it's not like the main hall of the convention. We're a little bit out of the way,
mm.
but like by midday, we were straight up just turning people away, being like, "We
I
are full.
I
We
always
can't
think
help
that
you."
works better anyway to like not be
A
with
little.
all the distractions, you know?
It depends on what you're doing. You know, if
Mm,
you're a retailer, if you're selling, everyone's freaking selling Funko Pops, so many Funko Pops. So like, if that's what you're doing, you want everyone to walk by, so they're going to say, "Ooh, buy it." You know, that's what you want. But given that
yeah,
what we're doing is like take some time, sit down, chill out,
right.
come and learn this thing, I do feel like being a little out of the way gets you people who are in that mood because
And I
no
have
one
a
walk.
question.
Go ahead. No, no, go ahead.
I was questioning about your Mahjong tiles. Did you have the Arabic numbers on them, or
Yes,
are they?
all the well. So what we brought with us was we brought in the back. You can see my good old Ultima table, which doesn't have Arabic numerals, but that's really just a show to show off.
Mm,
Like, hey, check out this cool mahjong table. Don't it does look cool? Isn't it exciting? At the rest of these tables, we have one of the slim auto tables, which does have Arabic numerals. So these are the ones we have at Sparrow's Nest, which has Arabic numerals on the mon tiles anyway, but not
mhm.
the rest of the tiles. So that was like also kind of a more advanced table to be working with. The remaining 5 tables are all hand shuffle tables with our standard teaching sets, which have numerals on everything. Uh, it's interesting. There were people who were interested in buying. There were definitely a lot of people who asked what it cost because they're curious. But then there were a few people who were like, "Oh no, I'd really like to get something like this." Not an Ultima per se, but like the Slims are much more reasonable because
Mm.
they're only $2,000 or $3,000. And again, if mahjong is something that you already play and you already really like, that's not an unattainable price to pay for something that's enjoyable for you.
I think it depends as
Um,
well on your space, right? It's always
mm,
think for Europe, we're so our houses are smaller. Like Americans, maybe
mm,
especially if you live out on the
not in New
West
York. Not in
Coast,
New York. In New
not New
York, it's
York,
like
right? But that's a big metropolis. But if you're living in the West Coast, it's people tend to have a little bit more space where you can fit one in.
yeah, yeah. This is just Nickelodeon Good Burger. They had a Good Burger car. I thought it was funny. The car was a burger. It had pickle wheels. And
Oh, I see.
it's
Yeah.
just humorous. It's cute. And Good Burger was a classic Nickelodeon show that I like. A&A was there. A&A for some reason had a big booth on the Comic Con
Oh,
floor.
A&A. You call them, sorry,
Yeah,
I call them Anna. I was like
and yeah,
A&A.
yeah. I have no idea why they were there. No one had any idea why they were there.
Oh, because
Um,
they're trying to get their inward bound tourism back up, right? And where
I'm
like
a dude. Yeah, we're all
where
dudes.
else are you gonna like find people with far too much disposable income who
They were
want to
giving
buy
away a
tickets to
flight. They were
Japan?
giving away a flight, which is
Oh,
why.
really?
You know who else was there? I didn't get a picture of
Wow.
it. eBay. eBay had a
Well, again, that
mammoth
makes sense,
presence.
right?
It does not make any sense to me.
It does make sense because these people are collecting comic books and stuff. They're collectors, and every now you're not like a collector like me, maybe, but I collect things and I create a collection, and then I start pulling it apart and remaking it, and then I have to sell that stuff on eBay because I don't need it anymore. And I presume that's what comic book collectors are like, or people who collect those little things with the wobbly heads.
Yeah, I guess. I guess. No, eBay had their whole enter the market verse booth, and like eBay, what eBay was selling was this idea where you ship them all your valuable collectibles and they hold it in a vault, and then you can trade them back and forth with other people while it's all in this vault. And I'm just like, that sounds like the least enjoyable thing to do with my beloved collector. Like, what's the point of even having them if I don't have them? There doesn't. I don't know. Maybe people like this. Maybe I'm just weird.
Oh, so you can't, but you can't get them. So I'm just trying to think. I
Well, I
think
can. I can say, hey, eBay, you know that thing I have in your vault? Please send it to me. Like,
I
it's still
don't. That's
mine.
not. Yeah, I guess I probably wouldn't want stuff sent to the vault if I was buying it for my collection. But if I decided to let go
Yeah,
of a
maybe they don't
collection,
have storage
sending
space.
to a vault would be quite smart because that's the worst part of it, like having to send it out to people and
Yeah, I guess. I mean,
storing
again,
it. Yeah.
maybe I'm just being cranky and old fashioned, but I feel like I'm not a big collector. But if I was into my collection, if I had a collection and I was into it, I'd want it to be like here, so I could look at
Mm.
it and be. I wouldn't want to have in my head like this weird, like, I have what is effectively a conceptual collection of items held by,
Yeah.
like, held in
I
escrow
suppose,
for
but
me.
I think maybe it depends on what sort of collector you are. Like lots of people just like the act of collecting, and then when they get to the point in their collection where they're like, well, there's no way to usefully expand this collection anymore, you just get rid
Mm.
of it. So then I can understand I'd want to just send the whole box to a service like eBay, and then they can, and then it's out of my way as I begin my new collection and I slowly sell off that collection.
Yeah, maybe that's a real thing people do. Like, I just don't know. So, like, maybe that's super
I
useful and
mean, my
awesome.
granddad was like into stamp collections, and his behavior was very much like this. You'd start to put together a collection that had a specific theme, and then you can't like, and then what do you do when you've completed the collection? Like, there's actually no point holding on to it anymore if you like the art of
Yeah, if you're like,
collecting.
okay, that's it. And now what I'm interested in is finding these difficult things, not so
Yeah,
much like, yeah, maybe, and maybe, yeah, maybe as Pesnator says, like maybe the postage and cards.
yeah,
Like, I could definitely see that. Like,
yeah.
if I've done like trading card sales and like Magic the Gathering stuff, where it's
Mm.
like I would love to just like keep all this stuff somewhere else. Maybe, yeah, maybe that's what it's for. But I
I
just
mean,
wonder
yeah,
what the
I
overhead
can
cost
imagine for
is.
like comic book people or figurine people, I can imagine they
Maybe.
probably demonstrate some similar behaviors.
So this is an exciting picture. This
Oh
is
yeah.
one of the entrances in the morning. One of them. There were multiple entrances like this. There were a lot of people. A lot of
Mm.
people at Comic Con. It was a massive event.
Can I ask? This is a really rude and insensitive question to
How
ask an
dare
American
you?
at this point in time, but do
How
they do
dare
they
you? I'm
have
already
like
angry.
metal detectors and stuff?
I'm fear. Just the fact that you would even ask this fills me with a quaking rage.
I
Um,
know, but it's a sensitive moment
no, they
in
do. Everyone,
time.
everyone has, everyone
Okay.
has to go through. Everyone has to go through metal detector and bag check for these events.
I
What
mean,
you
bag
should be
check, I
asking, the
understand, but
question you
yeah.
should be asking is, how good are they? Um, that's the question. Like, the question of, of,
Yeah.
of do you is, of course, yes, obviously everyone does. But like, to be honest, security at Comic Con seemed pretty reasonable.
Uh,
They seemed to pick out people reasonably. They had some pretty advanced detection devices they were using to like isolate bags and isolate. The metal detector seemed reasonable. Like, I mean, nothing happened. Obviously, like there were no incidents,
I mean, it's
and
it's a very difficult thing to have a very tight net on, isn't it? But yeah.
it is. But I felt like they were doing a good job of screening
Mm.
people coming in and out and making sure nothing was like obvious. And again, you're also dealing with like now cosplayers with prop weapons and all kinds of like crazy
Yeah, I
stuff like
know.
that on
That's
top
kind of
of
what
it.
I'm thinking as well. I'm like,
Yeah,
let's
you
just
got
make
like
them like those really hell.
some giant like cloud buster sword, and you're just like, hmm. Like, what do we do with this? Like, they actually, the convention actually has pretty specific, which is good, rules about what you do if you're a cosplayer who wants a prop weapon and like what's acceptable and how you have to deal with it and stuff like that.
Mm,
So like, I felt security wise and people management
yeah.
wise, I felt like they did a pretty good job with it.
I was about to say it only takes the crowd to believe that it's a weapon anyway for it to turn into a catastrophe.
It can, if people get panicky, yeah, it can be
Mm.
dangerous in that regard. What else is here? Oh, this is just our booth during normal operation hours. This is, yeah, everything
Oh,
is,
dude, he's so busy. Like, what are
yeah.
those people doing?
Well, they're all waiting to get on their lessons as the other lessons finish and they swap over.
Oh my gosh.
We
Yeah,
had
I
to.
had a thought, an idle thought whilst I'm looking at you. Have you thought about like setting up a TV or like a trailer or something
We
for
had one
Mahjong?
actually. We had a little.
Oh, really?
It was a
Okay, yeah.
slightly old one, and it was made by my good friend. But we did have kind of a trailer, something I want to improve
Yeah.
upon for next
It's a bit
time.
like, when you're waiting in the Disney line, right? And they
Yeah.
have like
Oh,
little sort of,
we
yeah.
could do what they did with that ride that I love, where every the part of the line is the experience. Like you could have like
Yeah.
Moriyama shows up and he just like berates them for like
Yeah. Something like that.
part
Oh,
of the
you think
way.
you're good enough to play Japanese Mahjong. Wow.
That's what everyone needs to hear to be encouraged, right? But yeah, no. What we ended up doing. So from a logistics perspective, different conventions we found were different ways. But Comic Con was a convention where people were very punctual. People were very happy to
Hmm.
say, "I'm going to sign up for a lesson at a time," and then they'd
Hmm.
come at the time and show up. And so that means a lot of our work was making sure that everything got turned over. We went for every hour on the hour, so we made sure everything got turned over very quickly, so that people could get through the lesson, get out, swap over to the new tables, and get in. Um,
Hmm.
Pardon me, and that worked very well. This is around one of our turnover times. This is about as busy as we were. Pardon me again, as busy as we were getting. But this is
Hmm.
nuts. Like again, for getting now before anyone watching thinks that I'm a terrible person, presuming we had more instructors. Don't worry, I don't want to overload my poor instructors to death. But like presuming we had more instructors, we could easily have like doubled in size. We had that much interest, presuming we had the people to do the teaching.
Are you gonna have double the size next time? Were
I
you
am gonna
like
have double the
taking
size next
names
time.
to like,
Yeah, we were taking names and newsletter signups. We were handing out
yeah.
information and like all kinds of information. This is also great because I mean, some of the coolest people we met weren't local, which made me so sad. Like some of the most excited people, like, oh, that's great, that's so cool. And like, yeah, I'm from
Hmm.
Virginia, and I'm like, oh, well, we'll see if we can find someone local for you. But like, that's a shame. But
Yeah, like outside of that's what those sort of main bases of the metropolitan areas, right? Yeah, depending on where they are in Virginia as well.
it ends up being like 50-50, and so it was like 50% people
Yeah.
from New York, 50% people from out of town. But there's still, again, people had a great time. There were some people just came back and played all convention. We always have a couple people like that, which was really
Mm.
great. Sold a lot of merch, which was cool. And like overall, it was just a really, really, really thrilling experience. And I think like my feedback from the convention is they were very happy to have us there, and they'd love to have us back next year. At least that's what
Can
I've heard,
Gemma
which is
come
great.
next year?
No
Oh.
Gemmas. Just particularly, it just says at the front of Comic Con, no Gemmas. Gemma not allowed. No,
I'm gonna.
I would love to. I feel like this room, this board games room, is kind of growing and learning because I also had to think. For some reason, I'm haunted by this. For some reason,
Hmm.
so we're in this room with a whole bunch of other things. We're in the room with Cephalofair Games. They make Gloomhaven and Frosthaven. Cool. We have some what's it called, like trading card salespeople and Pokemon figure salespeople, like
Hmm.
things like that are irrational. And in the back is some booth, and they seem to just play loud music. They're just playing loud music. They're just playing music, and it's loud. And Video Games New York was biased, but Video Games New York has some amount of. They weren't even being particularly loud, to be very fair. But like, I get it. Video games make noise, so your video games are making some noise. Like this is logical to me. This is like required for your
Hmm.
operation. So like, okay. And again, they weren't super loud or anything or particularly rude, but that was a noise input. But then there's other booths just like playing this blast. I'm like, I went over there, like, what do you do? I didn't ask them that, but I'm looking like, what does this booth do that requires that? No, they're just playing loud music. I'm like, guys, you're next to the D&D people. Like, all
Hmm.
they have to do is talk. Like, that's exactly what they're doing. It makes their lives so hard. So I'm hoping we can talk a little bit about arrangement to make it easier. But I purchased a whole bunch of these little tour guide style like voice amplifier boxes.
Hmm.
This is also because this is the first time we were doing a 4-day convention. And
Oh,
going from
dude, I
three
want those
days
for WRC, man.
going from 3 days to 4 days was a hurdle that I wasn't sure how we were going to make. And there were a few
Hmm.
things that I tried to do to make this work for people. The first thing is some people I was able to be like, okay, you're going to get a day off. We're going to just cut you off a day and you're just going to be out a day so that we could cycle in and out and like you have a time off. And then these voice boxes were the other one where I was like, I told people like, if you even start to feel your voice getting tired a bit, because the point at which you're saying like, oh no, my voice is struggling is the point at which tomorrow you can't talk anymore.
Yeah,
So
I
like,
don't think every time I've gone and done a convention review, I've come out with my voice just wrecked.
yeah, so I got these voice boxes and I started using one after a
That's an
while. And
awesome
I will tell
idea.
you, well, it's not my original idea. I learned it at
Mm,
Gen Con. When we went to Gen Con this past year in August, we did a miniature. I did the Battletech miniatures paint. I got to paint a cool
mm,
robot. I think I showed off the robot I painted. But I sat down there and it's a long table. And this guy's
mm,
standing at the front of the table, and it's really loud in that demo room because everyone's playing games
mm.
and talking, and it's incredibly loud. I'm like, oh no, how am I going to hear this guy? And he pulls out his voice box and starts talking at a
Oh,
very calm, volume from his mouth into the voice box, which amplified so we can all hear. And the light bulb goes off in my head, and I'm like,
yeah.
this is genius. Look at this man able to work a 4-day convention in a very loud setting without destroying his voice by using a tool like humans do.
And you know what? I find like not to be sexist, but I find it quite difficult sometimes as a female for my voice to be heard when it's noisier. I'm not
Hmm,
sure if that's just because the pitch and tone or whatever.
it's possible.
But yeah, even if my voice is at its best, it's just I find my voice doesn't always carry as well as I'd hope it would, you
Hmm,
know? Yeah, it's
I
a pitch
picture
thing,
I
right?
picture
I'm not crazy, thank you. So yeah, like a voice box sounds amazing.
Yeah, no, it's super useful. They're like USB powered. They have like 4 or 5 hours of battery life. It's Bluetooth between the headset and the thing, so it's like you don't even get tangled on anything. Like you don't need one all the time. Like I did half the convention
Uh,
without using it, but then as soon as I was like, oh, my voice is, I feel a little bit of a strain. I was
yeah.
like, okay, I'll just do this, and then I can talk all quietly, and everyone can hear me very clearly. And it's great. If you're doing
And
anything
is
like
that
this,
there's a
they're like 50
psychology as
bucks.
well,
Like
right? Like someone's got the conch. It's they've got the they've
yeah,
got
yeah,
the
yeah, yeah,
electronic conch, right? And everyone's like, oh, okay, I know what's going on here. This is the person who's doing the talking.
yeah, yeah. So no, that's all super good, and it's super smart. Highly recommend them. They're cheap. If you do anything like conventions, I hugely recommend it because it will just save you so much sorrow.
Mm.
Um, yeah, we bought a lot of lunches for people. We got a lot of pizza, which inexplicably got crushed. Um, and no, it was a really incredible time. One of the most exciting things that happened is someone's cosplay managed to get so stuck in this escalator that it physically destroyed it. That was the escalator down to our area, so we had a slight reduction in traffic due to
I have a lot of
someone's.
fear of escalators doing this.
Yeah, this
Right.
escalator got
Well,
wrecked. Now, no one got
that's
hurt. No one got hurt, so it's
that's a
okay. It's
trigger
okay to
for
laugh
me.
about this. No
Yeah.
one got hurt.
They are
Um,
meant to do that though, I think, right?
I
If
think
someone
it
gets
might be. I think
caught.
they might be
Yeah.
like, yeah, better off. I don't know if they. I don't think they did it deliberately. I don't think anyone's going to be
No.
trying to get someone to
I
get
think if someone
damages.
gets caught, those things are supposed to get pull and get ripped off,
I
right?
would
Rather
imagine that
than
it's designed to be like it's better
yeah.
that this breaks than that a human being breaks or something like that. So like
Yeah.
maybe either way, this thing got wrecked. Um, so yeah, that was funny, kind of funny on the last day. And then on our loadout, loadout was such a crazy time. I'll go back to the image of all the people here. But loadout was like figuring out how to get the van in and figuring out how to get all the stuff moved and everything like that. But all the staff at Javits Center were really great. Like the people we worked with directly at Javits were super helpful.
Mm.
Yeah, no, in America, there if they believed that I would imagine if they believed that the person maliciously attempted or like recklessly attempted to damage
Mm.
the escalator, they'd probably go after them. But in a situation like this, where it's like, um, I was just doing the normal thing at the convention, and my costume got stuck and broke the escalator, it's probably going to end up being Javits Center talking to their own insurer, who insures them against random crap breaking when people are in the convention center,
Yeah, I would
and saying we
suggest on
got
the
a claim to
escalator
make.
thing, the venue might be liable.
The venue might be liable if they hurt the person. Like if the
Yeah, but
person
I'm
was
saying if the,
injured.
that's why in Japan, right, you have them going like that annoying voice going, careful of your feet constantly,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. But
Yeah.
like at the end of the day, something like that happening isn't particularly, again, assuming no one gets hurt and everyone's fine. Like it's not
Mm.
particularly distressing because it'll be between the Javits Center and their own insurer, and they're big companies, and they'll make it work one way or another and get it fixed. And
Yeah.
like it sucks, but it wasn't like I don't know. It wasn't like a person deliberately behaving badly or a person like being malicious or something like that. So like, eh.
Have you got no photos of Jen and Garth?
I do somewhere. I just don't have them handy right now
Okay.
because again,
Okay.
I was just on a trip for more mahjong stuff, and now I'm back. So like, and now I'm gonna do more. I'm doing more mahjong. We're gonna be doing kind of a short stream because I'm gonna be heading over to Sparrow's Nest because we have a class. So one of the things that we had people sign up for was kind of a spillover. If you didn't get a lesson, you didn't have time. We're doing another one of our like mahjong fundamentals classes today. So I'm gonna be teaching that in like 2.5
Dave,
hours.
you're a Mahjong hero at the moment.
Well, I don't know about here. I'm a mahjong busy man. So I've been running all over the place doing stuff. Um, and one of the things that's really interesting that's come out of this, especially out of the time at Comic Con, is I feel like I've kind of hit a fairly good abbreviated teaching method.
Hmm.
Like I feel like I've hit a new like stand because I remember for a while I didn't well, way back when I didn't really have a teaching method.
Hmm.
And then I went kind of to Tibet, and that the full Tibet teaching method of like really slowly, carefully working people up through it.
Hmm.
And now I feel like I've cut Tibet down a whole bunch based on my own experience and some input from people who had their experiences and shared them. It's not all me. To like what I feel is kind of an ideal teaching structure.
Hmm.
And I can actually talk about it. Maybe that's a good thing to talk about because we do want to kind of be a little short today, but that's something I can definitely discuss within the context of the stream. So, do you think that's a good idea? Or you want to do this? You want to do something else? I don't want to like
I also
run
want to
over
hear
everything.
about your Matsuri event, though.
Oh God, again, there are pictures of this, and I just don't have them handy. So after the
Okay.
convention on the Tuesday, five were up my services. Yeah, $5, $5. Um, Jen and
I
Garth did
haven't
an
seen a
event.
service on Fiverr for a long, long time now.
Oh, I thought it was only supposed to be $5. So
No.
we scheduled this. So the convention was Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then I gave everyone Monday off because I was like, everyone deserves Monday off. Like it's too much. You can't just work 5 days in a row. And then Tuesday, Jen and Garth in the evening did Mahjong Matsuri at Sparrow's Nest Studio. We decorated the whole place with lanterns, and we had our little masks, and there was a bit of a Q&A about like what's pro-life like and stuff like that. And then there was a mini tournament, an East only tournament. It was Mahjong Bingo. Also, we did Mahjong Bingo. which was really cute. And then there were some prizes and some signings and some fun stuff. It was a really nice event with Jen and Garth. We hope to have them back to do that, something like that soon too. We'd love to have more people in to do that. If people want to do a bit of a meet and greet and sign things and do stuff like that, it would be really, really cool. No Yakumen in the tournament, in the Tompusen tournament.
I'm not on Fiverr, I'm afraid, Zero, but I have been thinking that I should start selling out my coaching services so that everyone can learn the ways of flow.
You for sure should. You for sure should. Like,
it's difficult though, isn't it? Like, it's like every time I've done it, I've tried to adopt the structure that was given to me in Japan. And I think I mean, a bit of my background, I went to university I've studied in universities in Japan and China and Taiwan. And having come from that sort of advanced academic background, understanding how they teach, like then jumping into how the Japanese teach, like it's just a different like sort of structure to how people teach and how people learn. And so I feel comfortable in that. It's not, but then every time I've tried to bring it to people who haven't had to go through a Asian education system, I think people struggle, and it's trying to find a way to sort of translate it over to a way that, do you know what? It's really funny. It's the questions. I'm like, people just don't ask questions like that in Asia. You're like, you're asking questions, whereas of course, in the UK it would be a sign that the student's listening, right? And they're engaging.
I'm engaged. Yeah, I want to know. Tell me something about this. I'm here with you, like exploring this topic.
Yeah, I could not imagine asking questions like that in like a class forum. Just wouldn't happen in JPML. And so yeah, it's yeah. Anyway, I do want to translate.
No, it's true because it is a different format. Like it's almost a difference between, in my mind, like a lesson and a document. Like if I was preparing a document for you to read about how to play Mahjong, I would write it one way. If I was doing a lesson, again, coming from a much more Western background in education, I'd be planning around when can people ask questions? What are we going to demonstrate so they can engage with it? Like things like that are foremost in my mind. And so I feel like if you have a lesson that's structured like a document, it's going to be kind of disorienting when people like stop you in the middle of your document. You're like, oh, I have a question. It's like, well,
I think the problem as well is that in Japan especially, people just don't structure thoughts in the way that we would. We like logical, sequential sort of building up to a message, right? Whereas the infamous Japanese essay style is this circle that just goes round and round and round and round and round. Like I had to learn how to do that so I could pass my dissertations.
Wait, how does that work?
Oh, it's so usually in the West, you write your introduction,
right, and then like
you have your main arguments,
points,
and then you write your little paragraph and a conclusion, right? It's just none of that. Yeah, Sierra, exactly. Sierra knows what I'm talking about. Like none of that. It's just sort of like I can only describe it as a regurgitation of information. Like I don't want to say that it's a poor way of doing it, because obviously it's a whole culture.
So
but
like
it's,
value judgment aside, how would you kind of summarize the structure?
They like paint a picture, right? They do this bit over here, they do this bit over here, they do this bit over here. Whereas I think when we sit down and read academic essays, we really want to know what the argument and the point that the author is trying to make.
Okay,
right?
So what you're again, I'm trying to just grasp it. Like instead of for us, where I'm going to say I'm going to prove A, and I'm going to say A is true because of 1, A is true because of 2, A is true because of C. My conclusion, like thusly, you can see A. It's more like, look at this thing over here.
Yeah.
But also there's a thing over here, and also the thing over here, and maybe I don't even explicitly say like all of these things are coming together to mean A.
I mean, I would, journey based rather than destination, maybe, but I feel like, I don't know, maybe because I have to sit in a corporate world. When you say taking people on a journey, right, that means that you're bringing people to your destination that they might not want to go to. I'm just thinking transformation, restructured, we're taking them on the journey, not only you're making it. But yeah, it's, I think that they don't want to make so much assumptions, there's less conflict. Inevitably when you are arguing a point, you are in a way in a conflict situation, right?
Because I'm preemptively asserting A, as
opposed
to showing you A and then or showing you one, I should say, showing you one of my examples, and then hoping we both kind of pull the same conclusion out
Yeah,
of
and
it.
then and you'd write a dissertation maybe, and then you'd expect later on someone might pick up your dissertation and say, "Oh, actually, I disagree with this point that and cite me or whatever." Um,
Interesting.
yeah, I don't know. It's a very different style. I mean, I'm not knocking it obviously because China has hundreds more years of academic history behind it than the West does.
It's interesting. Like I feel like I'd want to like explore and absorb. Like I don't feel like I can judge it at all because I have not
Uh,
at all marinated in that style of thing. But it
no.
kind of, I mean, it kind of makes sense to me. Like instead of saying like, for example, like we should cook dinner at home, I
Yeah.
can kind of like present to you like, well, all the restaurants are kind of closed at this hour, and like a bunch of other supporting things that I hope will kind of bring you to also come to this conclusion. And that's not,
Yeah,
I'm not going to call that bad or invalid. It's just a very different way
exactly. It's
of putting forth an idea.
exactly, yeah. I
And
mean, inevitably, it's within the social constructs they have, right?
well, but it's also interestingly like it also has its own potential fruitfulness
Mm.
because like when I start a conversation by saying we should cook dinner at home, I've now put forth a thesis and that colors everything to some degree. You
Mm-mm-mm.
now see everything in the context of my thesis. Again, I'm not going to there's no value judgment here. That might be good for certain things.
Mm.
But if I instead just give you a lot of thoughts, like abstract thoughts, and I don't tell you what I've concluded from this really, and I hope you
Mm.
conclude the same thing, but maybe you conclude it becomes a little more in the realm of art, where
Right.
it's like maybe
I
you
mean,
look upon this and you
i-
conclude something different that might be exciting or new or unexpected.
if it's anything like watching my mother-in-law having to communicate with her sons, like they always like, "Oh, what do you want for tea or for dinner?" And she's like, "Anything."
Oh no,
It's not anything,
it's
I
not
tell you
anything. No,
now.
it's not anything. It's not anything. This is
So,
a deadly game of battleship.
but yeah, I mean, it's sort of I find as well like it's just
Hi, Carol.
the organization of information is just it's not the way we would like to digest information. So I've been kind of trying to work through that on my blog by sort of writing things up
Mm,
in like sort of points, with the pros and the cons, stuff that you don't tend to see. I mean, if you get them, this is why when you translate those Japanese books, I've read them and there's so many times I'm like, I just don't think this would work for a Western reader
yeah.
compared to like Dinah Chiba's Ricci Book One, which is really well written. I mean, they
It's
they they
it's it's
often they write
it's
these mahjong books for like little short things you can read it on your commute, right?
But
Rather than
Richie
a
Book One is a very like thesis based book. It's like
yeah,
here are some ideological, not rhetorical or ideological. Here's some
yeah.
conceptual tools you can use, and here's how you use them. And it's all factual. It's a good book. Like I'm not. That's not a criticism at all. But yeah, I
No, no,
agree,
no, no.
Carol.
It's
Like
a it's but you can tell he's an academic, right?
yeah, yeah. I agree with
Yeah.
what Carol's saying about yeah, leading questions do tend to get, and that's kind of that's kind of the like
Mm.
there. It's not necessarily better or worse. Like yeah, when you come in with a leading question, you come in with a clear thesis, you're pushing people in that direction, which is sometimes good and necessary. I don't know. I think it's a very interesting point
Mm.
that, and it
But
does
yeah,
jive with some
I
of the
would like to
experience
get
I
into
had at
coaching, I
like.
think is the conclusion. I would like to get into coaching. I'm still just struggling how to do it, how to make it good value for people. I want to
Can you just move
disappoint
to
really.
America and run our mahjong restaurant that I definitely shouldn't open? I had a big conversation about this, and I definitely shouldn't open it. Which means I
I think
will, right?
I think you should, but you need to have someone in the hospitality
Oh
sector
yeah, yeah.
in New York with you on it. Like,
Oh, I had a
yeah,
wonderful conversation with a very nice person who works in that sector exclusively and has worked in that sector for a long time.
yeah, okay.
And I really appreciate again. This is not them being a bummer. I really appreciated their help and their input. And what they basically said is restaurants in New York are opened to close.
Mm,
um, like
yeah,
they like it. Most people who run restaurants are not excellent business people and don't always
uh,
track their finances very well and don't have an easy time of keeping the restaurant
oh,
afloat, and then it will eventually close because it's
well,
pretty much
then
unmanageable
you're
and
you're doing
sustainable.
it wrong. You're doing it wrong.
Well,
Like
if you want to
the,
come and do
the
it
correct
better,
the correct no no
I would
way to do a
love it.
restaurant the correct way to do a restaurant is to have a rich financier who wants a restaurant in their portfolio.
Yeah, well, that's what they're saying. They're saying those restaurants will survive, yes,
Yeah,
because
that's
they don't have to
they
make
have to
money per se. They
yeah
have to be
the
brand prestige. Like they serve secondary viable functions, right? Like the restaurant in a hotel, for example. Like that serves a secondary function as being a draw to the hotel, and like
yeah.
it all goes
I
together.
I mean, so I used to work at this one restaurant in London a long time ago now, but yeah, the gentleman who owned it, he would bring his friends in and they would order, I kid you not, like £5,000 bottles of wine, and they would sit there with them. this was just his place to bring people to so that he could do his business, right?
Right.
That's the value he was getting from it, not the financial value.
Right.
The value for him was, and oh my God, and I tell you now, £5,000 bottles of wine do taste different from the supermarket wine. That was good. I'm just gonna but I
Who
mean, how are
hates
you
Richie
gonna
Book
do
One? I'm
how are you gonna
surprised to
do
hear that.
Mahjong Soul? It's a good question. How are you gonna
Yeah.
do Mahjong Soul? So I mean, yeah, yeah, good question. Well, let me think about that. I mean, I don't mind looking at people's replays. Um, but the problem is I just don't know the Mahjong Soul meta. Who hates Reachy Book One?
Yeah. Who
I
hates
mean, the
Richie Book?
the problem, the only problem I'll say with Reachy Book One is not Reachy Book One itself. I think the problem is that so many people have read it and they play to it, and therefore there's plenty of people now who know how to break that strategy.
Well, yeah. If everyone's playing like hard digital 5 block, it becomes pretty easy to just be like,
Mm,
I know exactly what you're doing.
yeah. Well, my monthly salary was £5,000 a month. I'd be a happy lady. And I don't think moving
British
into
people don't get
Mahjong
paid that
coaching,
much.
I don't think moving into Mahjong coaching is going to get me £5,000 a month salary.
Well, I don't know. That's not necessarily true. Like, charge £50 an hour.
I think the only way that coaches would start being able to charge that amount of money was if there was a strong competitive circuit, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And you're really, really coaching people.
And Patreon.
Yeah, do you know Patreon? I did get one of those coffee things for my blog, but I wouldn't recommend anyone give me any money.
Wow, wow. We heard about
Okay.
your girl Amaranth is getting into a new business.
Oh, what's she doing?
Uh, hmm. Eh. She's
For?
brewing beer.
Oh, she's brewing beer.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a bit old now. It's a bit
Eh,
old hat.
that's new beer.
Yeah, I know, but you know what I mean. Like I thought the whole sort of hipster beer trend had
No,
been
it's
and
it's
gone
a
now.
it's a it's a unique vintage. It's a
Oh,
unique
really?
vintage. Yeah. Yeah.
Again, this is a little bit old hat. Do you remember the lady who did um a sourdough starter with their yeast?
I mean, look,
That was a pandemic time.
people can do what they want with their bodies.
But I just don't know how you put it. I mean, you can't. Health. Surely there's regulations against doing this.
I, she's doing it.
Good luck to her.
Yeah, I mean,
Good luck. Good luck, Amaranth.
it's fine. She can do what she wants. It's fine. People who want to drink it can drink it. That's fine. Like, I'm not
Anyway,
gonna.
I put it out in the world now. I'm thinking about doing Mahjong coaching. So people think about
Mahjong
what
coaching.
I could do, how I could do it, and I will
You can
take
become a
your feedback and
resident at
start thinking
this
about
this studio in New
it.
York.
Dave just wants me to move to New York
Yeah,
and
just
sit in
come to
his
New York.
studio
It'll
and
be
do it.
fine. Sit in the studio.
You're gonna pay me £5,000 a month?
Is that
No.
it?
Is that it? Oh yeah, remember it's New York. Probably get me like one bed apartment if that, right?
£5,000. Well, how much? How are we doing? Because once upon a time, I would have said that's $5,000 a month, but that's not. Okay, we're back down.
Five
So
thousand
so
pounds a month is
five thousand
probably about
pounds
like
is
five
about six
five
thousand
dollars now.
dollars, 6,000 USD. So that's what a
Yeah.
$72,000 a year salary if you're getting £5,000 a month. I mean, Tosha would have to have a job, but between that,
Yeah.
you'd be fine.
Maybe partner with clubs and do class or lectures.
Accommodation and
Yeah.
a gin allowance.
Do you like
I mean, I'll
gin?
be honest. We've been looking at things like summer school programs and other things like that. Like I could,
Yeah.
if some of these ideas become reasonable, like it could for sure support a serious paid instructor, which makes me very happy. Like if I'm gonna run some kind of serious program, I want to be able to pay an employee to do it, and I think it's viable. It's not unviable.
Yeah, and that's his outside of live commentary and review of the game. And I'm just not sure game reviews. So from my perspective, I think that some of the problems we're seeing in Western play, which mean we're not getting some of the real challenges the Japanese players that I want to see, is more than just the game. Like people are just sort of homing in on this, whereas you need to take a more holistic view. So when
Mm.
I was studying in Japan to be a Mahjong pro, they didn't just look at how you played. They were taking out, well, what is in your life that is, where are the vulnerabilities? And for mine, it was always maths. And so there was a lot of time spent where you need to start building holding numbers and manipulating numbers in your head in your everyday life so that you can do it at
Mm.
the table. You can't just do it at the table. You can't just learn a score sheet and suddenly be good at maths. You actually have to attack it from all sides. Um,
Well, that's overall skill building, right?
yeah,
So that you can develop that ability to be like, well, I know how many points everybody has, and
yeah,
I know how
exactly.
many points I need, and if I sumo 3 and 30, do I get first place or not? Like that's a question you do need to be
Yeah,
able to answer if you want to perform well. I still say like things like endurance are a
yeah.
big
And I was about to
challenge.
say stamina
Endurance
is
and
a big
stamina,
deal, right? And I
and that's
think
that's
that
physical and emotional, frankly.
yeah, and I'll say this as well about you know myself as well. I think that online mahjong scoring apps are enfeebling us.
Mm, I'm
I
not going to go
like,
quite that far. I'm not that old and cranky yet, but I do think that people's tendency to rely on them,
yeah,
they don't realize the blind spot it leaves them. Like it's true. At the end of the hand, I say sumo, and if I
mm,
don't know how to score that hand, it kind of part of it kind of doesn't matter. Yes, there's an app that can do that for me. There's an
mm,
online client that can do that for me. The problem isn't whether or not I know how to score my hand. The problem is knowing how my hand will impact the game.
yeah,
Like knowing before I win my hand that it's
yeah,
going to be 3,900 points.
yeah,
It's going to come from these people. The scores
yeah,
are going to change like this, and then I'm going to get into second place. And like that's
yeah.
great, and I know it. And that's the thing that I think
Yeah, and
people
that's
aren't picking
the
up because
and
it's done
it's
for
not
them.
just about your scoring. You have to see what points other people have, and then imagine what they're trying to do, so that then you can imagine looking at their discard pile, what they might be going for, so then you know how to fight it.
Right. That also relies on other players knowing that. And that's one of the biggest challenges of
Uh,
playing with players who are less experienced is like, you see players going, doing something. And like, if I'm playing against a good player, yeah, I'm thinking, well, they're down by 10,000. They
mm,
know they need more than 10,000. How are they building that kind of hand here? But with a lot of people, they just kind of don't think about that, or less experienced players don't think so much about that. And then it's like, well, they could just be doing like Yakuhai,
mm.
like because they just want to finish a hand and feel good about it. So
Yeah,
all these things are
I'm.
challenging.
I mean, Kuroki did an interesting an attack, not an attack, but a not a criticism either. A suggestion that Naga might not be as yeah, I don't think any of the top professionals are relying on Naga. Um,
It's
but then this comes
it's
back to the other stuff. You have to be fighting the people.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, you have to play against the other humans and understand. I mean,
mm,
that's always been my worry about a lot of these automated tools. Like, I love computers, I love technology, I love math, I love all these things,
yeah.
but I feel like people really rely on them as like
Right. Yeah.
arbiters,
They. Yeah.
as the truth.
It's exactly. It's a tool. I'm not saying don't not use Naga. Naga's a great thing
Yeah, yeah, it's a
to
great
get
tool.
like a, yeah. It's a great tool. But then the problem is it becomes less of a tool, and yeah, it's a dependency then. But yeah, maybe I should just try some written reviews and just see what comes of it. Maybe that would be the way to start. And then the problem I always have is that when you see one person's, someone sends you one log and you go through it and you can say, well, this, and this. However, what you really need is to see 20 logs to kind of
Mm,
pick the themes out from their play which are letting them down. So one thing I noticed when I played in the Welsh event, which we're not going to have time to talk about now, unfortunately, but I was playing in the Welsh event and so many people were saying, I'm getting to Tempai and I'm not managing to win. And I
hmm,
can tell you for sure, they are not envisaging their ideal end weight shape, which is something
I
you should
see.
always do. Like, yes,
So they're just getting to
you,
bad tempais that are then hard to win.
I mean, they're not bad. I mean, they're waiting on a 4-5, so they're waiting on a 3 and a 6.
Okay, no,
They've got a four
that's not
five shape
fundamentally bad.
rather than a 7-8. Because a 9 is
Mm,
always more likely to come out, and it's that kind of thinking, and that's why you start if you watch the M Leaguers, and that's why they start holding tiles, which you think, well, why would you hold that?
oh, because
It's
because it could
detached
help
and
them
stuff.
build a weird weight that will help them
Yeah,
sneak out the tile they need to win.
precisely. So if you find often you're just sat there going, oh my god, I'm tempi. I've been tempi for the last 5 hands, and never happens. You're just building the wrong weights.
It's always that's my
Um,
mahjong problem. It's like yeah, yeah, well, exactly, Sierra. Like people push and efficiency again. Not to pound on things I say all the time.
mm,
Efficiency is a very strong strategy when you're grinding games out in an online league
mm,
because the players you play against are completely random and you can't really factor in how they'll behave because they're random entities. So the strongest thing becomes how you behave, and that's
mm.
where efficiency really helps you, I think, maximize.
Yeah. And Tony Scott, don't worry if you're still struggling with scoring. Do you know I've had periods when I'm
Takes
really
time.
strong in it, but post COVID, awful again. Do you know what?
A
I
big
can
time.
still feel it though, because I've had it. I still feel it. And does that make sense? I've always been a number
Hmm.
feeler rather than a um I'm one of those people. I know.
A
There's always
number
those
feeler.
people, right? Do you know? No, do you know what I like? So when I'm at the till and the lady rings it up and she rings it up wrong, I know it's wrong.
Hmm.
Does that make sense? Like I might not be able to give you the. I might have to take a second to just calculate it, but I know
It
it's
feels
wrong.
like it feels like they're. It feels like they're.
It does feel
No,
like yeah.
I get that thing because you're just kind of like yeah. There's like a weird gut instinct you get around it that is
Yeah,
real.
yeah, and that but that gut instinct is the important instinct
Hmm.
because then the gut instinct will sit you where you need to then fit. Like okay, well I'm either going to need, I'm going to need a 2 or 3 hand rather than having to go straight from the beginning, right? Okay, well, I need that. Do you see what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah.
Mm.
Something between 25. I just only win manga on hand. So that's how I do it. I'm just manga on all the
I
time,
mean,
and then I don't have to
surely
worry.
Garth shared his theories on
I
just being hungover
just
and always
always win.
scoring mangan.
Just always score manga on. Just do it.
But yeah, I think Shira made a really nice comment there that personal coaching is about the why, not the what,
Well,
and
you might
Zap's
want
also
to.
about all the other stuff, focusing on that. As I said, Naga does offer a lot about personal, but then that's
You
why
might
it'd be
want to
good
look
to
at the
have
kind of
20 logs.
structure where you're on retainer. Like in other words, yeah, I
Mm,
can send you one game and be like, here, Gemma, here's my game. Tell me what I did, good or bad. Or you can say, look,
mm,
if you want me to coach you, here's what you're going to do. You're going to play at least
mm,
X games over Y period. And you're going to send me all of them,
mm, mm,
and I'll take the time to analyze all of them in one go.
mm,
And then we can talk about your trends and things that I see. Because
mm,
analyzing one game, again, yeah, Naga can do that probably
mm.
fine. Oh, you didn't make the most efficient discard here. Fine, whatever. But to be like, okay, and charge more for this because it's more work. But yeah, for me to say, okay, the service I get from you is you're going to look at my month's
Mm.
worth of play and give
Yeah,
me
and
some
that's
trending
the
thoughts, some
yeah,
thoughts about
yeah.
like, yeah, overall you tend to this, you tend to not that.
Mm,
In this situation, it looks like this happens. And that's the kind of value that I can't get out of an AI
mm. But it's
or a
very
machine
fair.
learning
It's
tool.
a lot like therapy. I've noticed. Like when I was being again trained in Japan, the amount they can tell about your personality from your mahjong style, having watched God knows how many games of mine that they watched, it was a little bit frightening.
Oh dear.
Because your personality is going to come out in your play style, and then you start learning about yourself, and it's not always what you
Mahjong
wanted from
therapy.
yourself. Mahjong therapy,
Mahjong
exactly.
therapy.
I see now that then I can go on Gwyneth Paltrow's Goop site, and I'll be earning way more than £5,000 a month.
I weirdly think there's validity to that, but we're also at about 1 o'clock, and
Mm.
unfortunately, we
So
have to
Dave
be
has
a
got to
little
go
short today
early.
because I got to go to get ready for this class. So I'm sorry, everyone. I'm going to
Hmm.
cut us off short, but I'm going to think a little bit about that. And also, next week, I can maybe put together some more pictures so that you have pictures of stuff that happened.
And I want you to do the new Tenhou mode on live on
What's the new
stream.
Tenho mode?
It's light speed. It's amazing.
All right, I'll try it. I'll try it.
Yeah, good. You won't be able to talk. You'll just be terrified. Yeah,
That's fair. But no,
it's good
thank you all for
fun.
joining us again. I'm sorry I have to run a little early, but I want to be properly ready for my students.
Yeah.
So see you guys next
Thanks,
week.
guys.
Good to be
Sorry
back
it's
in the
been
saddle.
short.
Yeah,
We'll
sorry to
see
be
you
short,
next
and
week.
we'll give you more time next time. All right. Bye, everyone.